So thank you all for coming along today. So lovely to see you all. This training, I'm really hoping it's going to be as collaborative as possible. So feel free to get up Screencast-O-Matic in the background while we're going along and have a look at how it works for you on your computer. I think Screencast-O-Matic generally works the same across all devices, so we should be okay there. I think with PowerPoint training later, that might get more challenging if we have all different versions of PowerPoint. But hopefully, yeah, it works the same for you as I'm explaining. I will just share my screen now and then can start the training. It's in 3 sections, so if you have any questions for each section, it'll probably be easier if you save up your questions for the end, and then I'll ask at the end of each section if you have any questions on anything that we've covered. And then at the end there'll be time for you to have a play around with your device, and we'll have a little quiz at the end just to check that I've communicated what I wanted to you guys, and that it made sense to you. So yeah, should be
Abby, can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Have you got a recording of the last workshop that you did? Because I was unable to attend that one.
The last workshop was more of a feedback session, so there is a recording available, but I don't know how useful it will be to you. Most of the resources and things from that I've put online. So
okay.
but trainings from this point onwards will be recorded in the hope that they will be very useful for you to access. Right. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Is that? Yeah. So this training presentation on how to use Screencast-O-Matic. I'm going to be running through a lot of the different features on Screencast-O-Matic today, but firstly I wanted to just say that the basics really are what makes a really good talk. So while I'll be showing you lots of different features that you can use to kind of accessorize your talks in a way and add different features, the basics of making sure that you're in a good space with good lighting, making sure that the camera is directly on your face and that you're in the middle of it. All of you are doing great at doing that today, as I can see from the Zoom call. Making sure that your microphone is working well and that you have a good microphone. All of these kind of things are really what makes a good talk good, because at the end of the day, it is you as a speaker being able to communicate with the audience through the camera. So those are the basis of a good talk, but we'll run through a few different elements today. One thing I just wanted to quickly show for designing slides, I think it's a helpful feature in PowerPoint that you can use if you want different ideas of how to make your slides more interesting. And it's just going up here to the design tab at the top and clicking on design ideas, and it comes up with different ideas along the side of how you can design your slides. This can be quite good just in the sense that it will then, each option from there on can be within the same kind of theme. So if you're adding lots of pictures on, it can design your slide in a similar kind of way. So if I delete this box, it should come up with some better options of how to design the slide. So you can even get some cool graphics up, although that doesn't come across very well. But yeah, it's just an option for designing slides. So I just wanted to point that out at first. So definitions for words that I'll be using throughout this training. So Facebook's video recording, that's basically when you have the webcam on and you're filming yourself. An audio file is when you're just recording your voice. An MP4 file is both the video and audio file, and that's what you transfer to me through WeTransfer when you've recorded your talk. An MP3 file is an audio only file, so that's something that you can bring into your presentation if you already have, say if someone else has recorded, we've got one speaker who someone else is recording, getting another person to read out loud some poems and things, and then they can import an MP3 file. So I'll be showing you how to do that. Slides, this is usually PowerPoint, but you can use other presentation programs, but that's what I'm referring to when I talk about the slides. Standalone is when there's no slides and it's just you talking to your webcams. That's a standalone presentation. Cursor is the mouse icon on the screen, which you can probably see here. So we can turn the cursor on and off on Screencast-O-Matic. And then there's lots of Screencast-O-Matic terms, but we will get to those in a short while. So today we're looking at the options for recording, how to edit your video once it's recorded, and then briefly touch upon the scripted recorded option. So options for recording. When you're recording, you can either just record the screen, you can just record the webcam, or you can use both. You can also switch between them as you go through your presentation, either by using the pause button, or there's also a shortcut on your keyboard, which I will show you in a minute, that can help you to jump between when you're showing your whole slide and when you then want to have your whole face on screen. So there are options to play between those. Computer audio, so that's, you can decide whether, if you're say showing a video and you don't want your voice, you're not talking over it, you just want the video sound to come through, you can change the option to just record computer audio. So that's then not picking up the sound through the mic when it's playing, but it's picking up through the computer, which will make a much better quality sound if you're showing a video. I will get, if any of this feels a bit overwhelming, I will show you this on the next slide. And then draw and zoom is another feature on Screencast-O-Matic that you can use while recording. So all these options are available to you, not in the editing process, but in the recording process itself. So unfortunately, this is where Screencast-O-Matic gets a bit confusing. I can't show you my screen when on record, because then it gets confused with cameras. So I've taken a few screenshots. So this is what you see when you're on Screencast-O-Matic. So you're probably very familiar with the screen webcam using both. Maximum time, probably don't set one unless you are worried about going over and you know that it's going to need to cut off. So this is what I mean by computer audio and narration. So narration is your voice into the microphone. So if I clicked on this on Screencast-O-Matic, it would come up with different options for different microphones. So if you have a plugged in microphone, you might want to check that that's the version that's being recorded with and that it's not recording from the computer microphone. And then computer audio. So this is if you're recording a video that's on a slide, this is where you'd want to switch off the narration and you want to click on computer audio because this will then create a better quality sound when it's being played through the computer. Are there any questions on any of this box? Yeah. Great. So the next slide, so this, I'm going to show you what happens when you click preferences on Screencast-O-Matic and it comes up with this option. So there are different, so these are keyboard shortcuts that you can use when recording your talk. So if you can either click pause, which will show up on here when you're recording, it'll come up with a pause option, or you can use your keyboard. But what I think is interesting is webcam big hotkey is where you can then switch between having your webcam in a larger screen and having just webcam on, or whether it's showing your slides. So if that's a transition that you like to play with, and that sometimes when you press pause, you then feel like, because every time you press pause, you then might move your face to slightly over if you're moving around when you're talking. So it's a way to kind of make that transition smoother. So you can change this keyboard shortcut as well. So if I clicked on down, it would also say change keyboard shortcut. So if, was it Shift Alt W is not an easy one for you to do on your keyboard, you can change that. Another mark timeline can be useful if you've gone wrong and you know that you want to come back to this section. If you just click Alt M, it'll then mark on the timeline where that point was, so you can easily find it when you're going back in the editing process. So that also might be helpful if you just stumble over words, you want to restart that section and you know you want to cut it out later. You can click the Alt M or whichever keyboard shortcut you choose. And another helpful feature is the webcam preview. I personally find if I'm like recording some training or a talk or something, I don't like seeing myself recorded like in the screen back at me. I'd rather just see it afterwards. So it can be helpful to turn off the webcam preview potentially, so you don't have to be so aware of your own face looking back at you as you're recording and as you're talking. Of course, if you like having yourself as your audience and that is a helpful interaction, then you'll feel free to leave it on, but it's just something that you can change on Screencast-O-Matic. And one other thing is These buttons, I don't know whether you've ever used them before, but these basically, if you pause as you go throughout your recording, it will mark those places as like as different videos basically, so you can then click through this to go between those sections. If, for example, you have done your talk on one slide and then you move on, but then you realize later, actually, I want to add a bit more in. I feel like if I need 5 more minutes in my presentation to make it up to the length, and that's a part that I have more information to give, you can then click between these and then start recording from that point using this button. So that enables you to slot in a video there. There are other ways to do that later on in the editing, but it's helpful because it already has it set out for you if you're doing pauses between screens and just taking a breath. So that's a quick whiz tour of all the options when recording. Are there any questions on any of this slide? Hopefully it's all coming through clearly and it's not just baffling. So there is one other feature that's a little bit fun that you can play around with on Screencast-O-Matic, and that is the draw and zoom feature. The zoom, I haven't quite worked out what it does, to be honest, but the draw feature I can show you now. And
we have seized up, or I have seized up. There we go.
Oh. Right. So if I bring this up and share my screen here. I've been playing a lot of Pictionary over lockdown 3, as you can potentially tell, but this is just a little indication of what the draw and zoom feature does. Clearly taking some inspiration from you, Malcolm, for a topic of a talk. So that's yeah, so the way you can also use that when recording, if you wanted to accentuate something, draw a line under something, those like with that draw feature, you can do that as you're going along. You can also do that in the editing process, which I will now talk us through now and then share my screen on Screencast-O-Matic. So hopefully you've worked out how to turn on and off the webcam under the show tab. So when you're you've done your recording and you've pressed edit to look over your recording and see what you've done, and it comes up with a tab on the side and it has different sections, and one of the sections is show, and then it has an option to click the webcam or the cursor. So this is where if you've done the talk and you've recorded but you've decided you don't want your face box to be on show, that's where you can turn that off. And then also if you have the cursor on, you can also remove that. So that's when the mouse is on the screen that has that funny yellow circle around, that can be turned off. Then if you go, when we continue with the editing, you go down to the bottom and it has an option when you're clicking on the lines like to show that you've recorded, and it comes up with tools. And then this is where you have all these different options to play around with the editing features on Screencast-O-Matic. It's important to note that on all these features, you want your mouse cursor to switch to this double arrow. That means that you're then selecting a section of your recording to work on. If you don't get that coming, if you're just trying to drag on, it won't work. So you need to make sure that you just drag over it until you get that double arrow. So with this, with the tools, you can cut parts of your recording. So if there's just a little part where you have a tickle in your throat and you have a cough, you can cut that out. You can do that in the beginning, middle and end of any parts of your recordings. That's a real benefit with Screencast-O-Matic over PowerPoint, where you can only trim the beginnings and ends of slides. You can hide your webcam at certain points. So as well as switching it on and off for a whole section, you can choose to switch it off for a smaller section, and that's where you again drag over using this mouse the section that you want to hide your webcam. You can insert a new recording or an existing recording. So if you've done another video previously and you wanted to insert that, there is an option to do that. And then you can also decide, as I was saying earlier, either you do it in the recording process itself, or if you're wanting to add 5 minutes extra to a slide later on, probably not to the same slide, but a couple of minutes extra to a slide later on, you can then insert it here. So yeah, it's when you've recorded it all and you're editing again later. And overlay gives you an option to add many different features. So this can be, you can insert pictures. So if you saw the video that I did for the questionnaire and have pictures appearing around me, that's how I managed to do that. That's through the overlay feature. You can also add arrows, yeah, and shapes and things, so lots of different options. You can also freeze a slide if you feel like you've rushed on at a point too fast and actually people need a bit longer to look at the map or look at a photo. You can drag over a section and get a freeze frame. You can replace a video. So if you have the wrong slide behind you and you're talking about something and you've forgotten to switch over the slide, you can replace the video later. So replace the screen share without having to record your talk again. You can also add transition effects. I say be careful with those because you don't want the volume coming in and out all the time. So use it sparingly, but you could do it at the beginning and ends if you wanted to. And then again, you can edit volume, but it is better to get this right without needing an edit later on, which is why a good microphone and all of those checks at first is a good thing. So this is where it gets fun, sharing Screencast-O-Matic. So we just go into here. So I should just show you how to find all those features I just talked about. And then if there are any questions, please do unmute yourselves and shout out. So we have the edit feature here. And this is the tools part. So here's the cursor and the webcam. So if you want to turn off the cursor and the webcam, you can do so. Narration, you can also turn off. I don't think you'd want to do that for a talk, but it's an option. You can also add in music here. So there's lots of different, like the kind of music that I heard earlier, the kind that you have on when you're holding on a call or something like that. It's not music in terms of like an array of many different composers and singers pieces, but it is music that you can use if you wanted to liven up your talk in that way. And you can also import your music, but do be careful with this because we do have copyright problems. So if you're really wanting to use music, get in contact with me and we'll try and work out how to do it. But at the moment, it's not very feasible. And then we have the tools section here. So if you wanted to cut a section, this is what I mean by the arrows. As you can see, the arrows come up, so I could cut as much as I wanted here going through. You can also, yeah, and then you could cut and copy to another section. So that's the copy button. Hide, this is where if you don't want to hide the cursor for the whole presentation, but just for a section, again, you can choose the section. So this darker line is where it's choosing to hide the cursor. So you can hide it for those sections. And same with the webcam. Insert, so this is where you can insert a new recording, existing recording. If you wanted to insert another video, you can do so. I don't know what the stock videos are, so there'll be basically all of the videos that are available on Screencast-O-Matic, so different animations. But yeah, you might be interested to looking at. And an overlay here is where you can insert different images, shapes, arrows. You can insert some text onto a screen if you feel like it needs a label and you forgot to add a label on the slide originally, you can add it in here. A video, that would be instead of being the whole video, just another box that could be added. So you could have your face box, you could have your slide, and then you could add a little video if you wanted to, using the insert tool. Replace video. So if you want to re-record a section, you can do that by going replace video, and then you can decide to re-record by dragging again over the section that you want to re-record. You can also decide whether to keep narration or keep webcam for this. So if you are wanting to re-record your whole like a section again, make sure you click off keep narration, otherwise you will hear your original recording and then we'll be doing some strange lip sync with it. So yeah, make sure you click off the keep narration, keep webcam if you are re-recording a whole section. Speed, won't want to play around with that, I imagine. And then these are the transitions where you can fade in and out and adjust volume. Are there any questions on any of those features? It's probably something to have a play around with.
I have a question. It's Jim Stebbings here. You helped me recently when I had a problem turning webcam on and off in the editing. I just couldn't get rid of it where I wanted to. And because it was a weekend, I asked Screencast-O-Matic myself, and they were very helpful and said, no, you can't do that. You have to turn it on and off in the recording session, which is not what you're telling us now, and it's not what I experienced. So either I was continually doing something wrong, or there's an area there that still very uncertain to me.
Yes, that is. So I assumed it was because it was a show, so it wasn't taking the webcam out completely, but it was clicking it here. In which case, I think that the removing the webcam from
I think I was only ticking and unticking webcam on the right. I didn't go to the tools menu.
Yeah,
that might have been the problem.
Yeah, I would say if you go into tools, also potentially needing to re-record over. Yes, I remember that was because it went faded for you, wasn't it? That was the.
Yes. So when looking at the screen we're looking at now, you've got webcam ticked.
Yes.
Right. So if you go to the tools menu and you're going to change that, do you still keep the tick in webcam? No, you've got sort of webcam tick to the right. Now you've got webcam in the tools menu.
Yeah, you'll want to, if you want the webcam on at other points in your presentation, you will want to keep the webcam ticked on the show.
All right.
Because otherwise you'll have the funny fade effect throughout the whole presentation. If you want to hide it in a certain part, I do believe it's possible to, it's worked for me when I've done it and converted.
I think I was only relying on the tick in the right-hand webcam, whereas I should have been going on to the tools menu as well.
Yeah, I think there's so much on this tools menu that until you click on it, you don't realise all the features available.
I found it a bit off-putting.
Yeah.
So much there, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Cool, thank you.
I've got an editing question. Can I ask?
Yeah.
The trouble I have with Screencast is that when I want to add a bit onto it, you know, in the middle of it, when I go back to, I've got to get it so near the second that when I go back on to watching it, I've sort of cut over a little few seconds of what I've done. I can't get it spot on. Is there a trick to that?
I would say if that's where, when you're recording, you pause, it will get it exactly on. So as you're recording your video and you just pause as you go throughout the different sections, it will then make that mark on the recording. So then you'll be able to go to the exact point where you left off or where the section ends.
But what about if I've completed the recording and then want to add a bit on and I haven't?
I would say it really is the pressing play and just trying to make sure you click it at the right point to insert in. I mean, you could, There's a play.
If you don't get it to the right second, it looks really odd.
Yeah, I would say also it's like looking at where the lines are going up and down the bottom can also really help, and just making sure that you get it between that dip in the lines for that detail. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's another. Because I guess it's where you would do a new recording here or an existing recording.
Yeah, and you add it on, and then you find that you've gone over a second over your bit that you already recorded. If you see what I mean? Yeah. I
mean, I was going to say you could do a slow down, but then I would worry that would then just get too confusing, and it would be difficult to speed it back up to the same speed that you want it at. Then it would just allow you that time.
When you're doing your recording, you don't really want to concentrate on anything other than,
just speaking.
Presentation, yes.
Yeah, no, completely. Those are the only. If I think of anything else, I will let you know. But I think looking for where the dip in the line is along the bottom, and just dragging it along, just being really precise with it, I guess. That button.
Okay.
Cool. Any other questions on editing? I think someone asked about the audio, so I hope that's useful with the requesting audio to put into your presentation, or through using the insert button here.
So you can use the video options, the video clips, whatever they are, from what you just said a minute ago, rather than the copyrighted like YouTube clips.
Videos, what kind of?
You mentioned there was like stock videos that we might.
Yes. I don't know what is available on Screencast-O-Matic, but they do seem. It does say, where is it? Overlay video, and then they have a stock library.
Okay.
So I don't know what's in there, but.
Okay, and we still can't use like YouTube clips of whoever we're talking about.
No, for copyright reasons.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you had another recording that someone else had done and sent you, then you'd be able to use that.
Okay, thanks.
Abby, Neil Sadler here. Is that, we were talking about inserting little clips of music over a few slides by way of an introduction to a talk. So that's what I could do, is it when I'm going to do the editing, I could just click on the tool section with music and add over a number of slides. Would that cover a number of slides?
Yes, yeah. And they have lots of stock music available on here. So can have a look for what kind of.
Because if you remember when I tried it before, every time you put it onto a slide, when it went forward on transition to the next slide, the music stopped and you have to start it again. Will this allow me to go over like 4 or 5 slides in one go?
Yeah, it should do, because you're doing the editing all afterwards.
Right, so. At the end. Lovely.
Yeah.
I'll try that. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Great. If that's all the questions on editing, then I will quickly
Abby,
just go. Oh, yes.
Just one point. Going back to your last speaker, surely you can do the music overlays in PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I mean, that can go from one slide to another.
No, this was a trouble. This was the trouble I had, David. That when I was doing that, when you actually then replayed it, every time you changed and transitioned to the next slide, the Blooming music stopped, and you had to start it all over again. It wouldn't go over a sequence of slides.
You have to put in under options the number of slides you wanted to play over.
Yeah, that's right. You can do it. Yeah, you can do that.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the reason it was stopping then.
Right, but I would still be careful when doing that you're got the sound and picking up through computer audio and not through the microphone, because that will make sure that the music is playing with better quality. If you're trying to talk over it with the music, that wouldn't be possible.
So best to do it at the editing stage.
If you want to have like both speaking and music, then you can do both at the editing stage.
Got you. Okay. I'll try that. Thank you.
Cool. Right, so scripted recording option and screen share. Here we go. So the scripted recording option comes up when you open up Screencast-O-Matic. There are some pros to it. There are also some big cons, and I'm not sure how much you will find it useful to you as speakers, but it may be useful when structuring a talk. You can record each section and feature separately, basically. So you can put in your paragraphs of text if you write scripts, if that's how you do your talks, and then you can record your audio file over that. The con is that it's not recording a face box at the same time. So I think from most people here, it's more helpful if you are a speaker who prefers to have slides and audio in the background, or if you have even a section that you're doing slides and audio, you can do the whole section in scripted recording and then add your face box at the beginning and end or middle parts. But other than that, it's yeah, so those are the difficulties with this feature. But it can also be helpful for working out the timing of slides and how long the script takes to read, so it could be useful as a rehearsal like tool. It's an easier way to record audio files with presentation slides if you do use Facebook sparingly, as I just said. And I think the audio was a good quality because it was only focusing on audio, but obviously as speakers we like to have the face box on the screen as well. So I think potentially is more useful as a rehearsal tool in that sense. And it's more fiddly to put it all together. But I'll just show you how to use it just in case it is something that you're interested in. If you have a section of your talk where you want to speak over it and have pictures showing, this is a way that you can do that. So switch back over. Share. So this is the scripted feature here. And yeah, so you can enter the text as you go along, add as many sections as you like. It does it in steps. So you write your script and then you can record your audio into each section, and it divides it up. So it's a very manageable way of doing it. And it will also tell you exactly how long each section takes for you to talk it through. Afterwards, you record your video. So it should allow me to just, if I'm just recording here, so it'll pick up all of this as I'm speaking and make a little audio file. And then afterwards you go into record video, and I can then record a slide. This is where it's, oh, screen sharing paused. Right, it doesn't like me going into it, there we go. So basically there, what it came up with was what you're used to for Screencast-O-Matic, which is the capturing of a slide. This feature doesn't allow you to do the webcam, which is why, yeah, that's the more negative side of it. Any questions on any of that? I would say it's something just to have a play around with if you were interested. Yeah. If not, just to I'll share this information around, but I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think most of you here actually have good quality microphones, but we do offer microphones from Murphy. So if you are having issues with the microphone quality and things, we can offer these recommendations. So please do get in touch if you feel that a better quality microphone would be a good thing to have. Responding to the questions from the survey, there are a few that didn't quite come into Screencast-O-Matic, but I thought it'd be helpful to answer. One of them was stopping the computer entering power save mode. This is something that you can do on your computer settings. So if so basically on the control panel of the computer, you want to head to a part that's change power settings. That will be in your system management. For me, I accessed it through going from control panel to hardware and sound to power options, and then edit change plan settings. And then I was able to decide, it said for me like 5 minutes not plugged in and 10 minutes plugged in that my computer will enter sleep mode, so you can change those settings. So if you're getting into a talk, I can imagine it's extremely frustrating to have it suddenly blank out on you. So that's the way to play around with that. I can see Alan nodding. Also, you can change timings through the power and sleep settings if you just type it into the computer search bar. So that's the way to deal with that challenge. Changing webcam positions, I wasn't quite sure what was meant by that. So if whoever asked the question is here and wants to answer, I wasn't quite sure of what that question was getting at. Start and end frames with logo image details. Hopefully now you've worked out different ways to do it. So either obviously you can do it on PowerPoint presentation if that's something you want to add. You can also go into the editing tool and insert image if you wanted to add a logo while you're talking and you're doing a bit of self-promotion right at the end, and you can add in like a link to your website or something. You can add that in as text, you can add in your logo. Those kind of features can all be done on the editing tool. So hopefully that's clearer. So any more questions? Have I exhausted you all?
Abby, just you mentioned about websites, because originally Diane said that we couldn't put our website details on the slides.
Okay, so now we're saying right at the end, you can do a slide explaining where people can find out more about you and what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a lot of things. So we're very much working out as we go along. Different Murphy speakers, obviously I joined in November, so things are, yeah, if there's different information and there's new information now, the new information will be the one that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, there is also a confusing video that says about half an hour talks being preferred, but we do want 45-minute talks, so things like that need to be changed, and I am on it. Yeah, good.
That's not, another question was the 45 minutes, but you just answered that.
Fab. Yeah, 45 minutes to 50-minute talks are the ones that the club bookers prefer, that kind of length.
Okay.
So little quiz to test your knowledge and test my teaching skills. My mum always said whenever I was having a test at school, it's more about what the teacher can teach you to make me feel less nervous. So this isn't too much of a test for you, it's a test for me. If you write down your answers, and we will go over answers at the end. So how do you have a little play around on your computers as well? So how do you record only a voiceover/audio file without the face box? And you might even have a different answer, and that's fine too, because there's lots of different ways to go about doing this on Screencast-O-Matic, but I can think of 2 different ways.
Quiz.
Once you're ready to move on, if you could do a like thumbs up or something, that would be great. I went through the fab. Writing. My feedback from the pub quiz was going on far too quickly from question to question, so taking on that feedback. Right, so on to question 2. How do you make an image appear next to you in a recorded video? Hopefully this is a good way to map out the different steps as you go along.
I applaud what you've said and done, Abby. I'm intrigued to watch everybody dashing away notes and answers to your questions. I'm a complete baby in this, and I'm afraid that there is no way could I answer any of your questions at this stage. I'm just being an observer, and I'm finding the whole thing quite fascinating, but I'm struggling to make any sense or to come up with answers. So
Don't
please,
worry.
my apologies right from the very start.
That's all right, don't worry. It is very much accumulate a little bit, even if you come away with one new thing today. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think the best part of this particular session is not so much being able to answer all the questions and so on. It's opening your eyes to the things that you can do within Screencast. Now, I just want to go back and play around, which will enable me to pursue all these questions that you've just asked, rather than being able to answer off pat straight away. I want to go exploring now.
Yeah.
Would you like, I mean, I'm very happy to kind of end it there if that would be helpful. I can send these questions and then you can do it in your own time if that would actually be preferred. That's absolutely fine with me.
I've actually made notes as you went through as to the sections I want to go back on to explore.
Yeah. So well, you know what, I don't want to stop you from being able to go off and explore. That's not what I want to do. Okay,
Can I just say I've never used this program at all, and that's why I came on this one. I'm just curious to know what it does. In terms of this and PowerPoint, this sounds far more sophisticated than PowerPoint. I normally use PowerPoint. Is that right?
There are pros and cons. I think in terms of getting a flow through a presentation, that's where Screencast-O-Matic can be that little bit more superior, because in PowerPoint, every time obviously you click on a slide, there has to be that pause, and you're not able to edit as afterwards and go along. So that's where Screencast-O-Matic has the edge over PowerPoint. So it depends, I guess, what kind of it is just a bit more fiddly to do, but I guess it does create that flow of a talk.
It does seem that there's more options. Is it a free version? Do you have to pay for it? I looked the other day when you sent this stuff out and just had a quick look, and there seemed to be a very low subscription. Is the subscription one the one you're talking about now?
So we have a Murphy subscription, which can be found on the speakers page of the website. If it's not clear enough, I will go onto the website page and try and make it clearer. We have a Murphy subscription, so you don't have to pay. We've already paid for that for our speakers to use Screencast-O-Matic.
I've actually found Screen-O-Matic much easier, and it flows much more easily. You can go from one slide to another while you're talking without actually stopping and starting all the time. I found it much better.
I think it answers some of my questions when I've watched some of the free talks, and I was like, how do they do that? How do they do that? I can't manage to do that on PowerPoint, and I think it probably wasn't PowerPoint. That's how they did that. So I'm quite interested to see what.
I do the same. I think it's a good idea maybe to start off with PowerPoint, because I think it's easier to understand, and then maybe go on to this one. I only use PowerPoint at the moment, but that's why I wanted to come and have a look at this one, just to I think it will be probably more professional, I suppose. As you say, it would flow better, but at the moment I'm just exploring it too. So it sounds good, but I'll have to play around on my own.
Abby, can I just check something as well? Like the previous two speakers, we haven't used this before, so we've sat in on this to get an idea. What format do you end up with at the end of your Screencast-O-Matic recording? Do you end up with an MP4, or is it in another format?
It saves in another format automatically, and then you have to click on, is it I'll go back. I might say save as video file.
Okay.
So while you're editing as you go along, it's all in Screencast-O-Matic. It shares, it saves within that, and then you click on save as video file, and it will convert it into an MP4, and then that's what you send it.
So when you
to us.
finished everything else, you end up with an MP4 at the end of all the process. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it doesn't struggle with large file sizes like we
PowerPoint seems to do.
No, because it has it all within Screencast-O-Matic and then converts it afterwards. I think it's better able to do that. It also takes much less time to convert than PowerPoint when you're converting PowerPoint into MP4.
Thank you.
Yeah, saves on my time of watching these loading bars on the screen.
I think one of the other advantages of that Screencast-O-Matic is it seems to use far less bandwidth or whatever for the recording. The file is smaller and more compressed, isn't it? Because when I did it by mistake on one of the other apps on the Mac, it was sort of, the file was enormous. Then I couldn't compress it, so it caused all problems. So I'm very fortunate, I think, that I don't use slides or PowerPoint. So I think I'm going to stick to that. Having seen how the complications come in.
Amen to that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that PowerPoint is, all the slides and stuff. That seems far more challenging. I don't know that I'm ready for that step. I've always been a standalone speaker, so I didn't use anything else, and I found that has worked well for the transition onto recorded ones. But Screencast-O-Matic, for the ones I've recorded, have worked, has worked really well for me. But you've answered the most important question for me today, Abby, which was, how do you keep the damn thing from switching off? Because in my talks, you will see me just every now and again while I'm talking, touching a button just to, on a remote mouse to kick the screen back to life again. So
I could read the frustration in the question and the questionnaire. I was like, whoever's written that is getting very frustrated with it. I was like, must answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Right, I think she'll end it there.
Abby, I've got one quick question.
Oh, of course.
And that is, when I've edited my talk, and I think you press broadcast or something and then I send it to you. When I go back onto the Screencast website or whatever, the talk is gone and I can't edit it anymore.
Do you have Screencast-O-Matic downloaded, or are you using it online?
I'm using the Murphy one, but when I've sent it to you, it seems to have gone from my file on Screencast.
Should be on your computer.
Yeah, because mine, it all stays within all the recordings I've done. Stay within. Okay. If I just quickly stays within here.
Yeah,
and I have all the ones I've done.
When I go back to that, the one that I've sent off, when you do the last bit and download it and send it off to you, when I go back to that page, yeah, that talk is gone, or it says no longer available or deleted or something, or not deleted.
That might be.
I had this. Just thinking back now to when I started using Screen-O-Matic. I think I had the same problem, but it was it was on my computer, but it was hidden somewhere down in documents. Yeah. I'm sure Screen-O-Matic actually sets up a file within your documents that I didn't even know about. And I found it by mistake, I think.
Ah, that's interesting.
So I think, but it's a long time ago.
I think that may be similar to Zoom. What Zoom does is if you record on Zoom, it sets up a subfolder in your documents and puts it in there. So it could be that Screencast-O-Matic does the same thing.
Yeah.
Screencast-O-Matic does do the same thing. Just looking at my documents, I've got all of and under recordings, so Screencast-O-Matic recordings, and then I have all the files.
So they're on your computer elsewhere rather than Screencast.
Yeah. For me, they're on both. So I don't know why they're not showing up in in Screencast-O-Matic itself for you. But they are also backed up in documents.
So I need to go back to my documents on my computer to find it.
Yeah, but I'll have a look at that, because it might be that when you click publish, because I click save as video file, and then click publish. But I don't know whether when you're doing that, you've got a setting that says now delete previous recording. I'll have a look and see if there's a box that you need to uncheck or check or something.
Yeah, because all my rehearsal recordings and ones that I weren't happy with are still on there.
Yeah.
But the one that as soon as I broadcast it, or I forget what I do, and then send it to you, as I said with the other speakers, it seems to have disappeared off the screencast file.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that for you.
Can I just ask, how do you send it to Abby?
It then goes onto my computer, and then I send it, but then you can't use that to edit again.
I send mine by WeTransfer.
Yeah, so do I.
That takes big files.
Yes, I send it by WeTransfer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, it's because you don't just want the MP4 file, you want the file in Screencast-O-Matic to edit, to continue editing. I'll have a look and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Abby, I tried to save mine initially to, I think it was an iCloud. One of the cloud things I seem to have, and when I tried to save it on it, it didn't appear. And when I sort of did a little search on the computer, why hasn't my video appeared? It says it can take some days or even weeks to appear. Do you know about that?
When you're saving it on iCloud?
Yes.
I don't have iCloud, so I mean, I know Apple's a bit of a law unto itself. Yeah.
I think I won't attempt to do that again, but initially I thought it was the place to put it, but it just didn't appear, and seems to say generally that sometimes it can take weeks to appear. So I just wondered, I'm not going to use it anymore.
Yeah.
But I do
Sorry, yeah.
One more question. If you saved as an MP4 file somewhere on the computer, can you bring it back into Screencast-O-Matic and do another edit?
Yes, I believe so. If you go on import, so I will just share screen.
That's my question, wasn't it?
So if you go on import here, and then you can open up one of the talks, and then you should be able to edit. I can even get up your talk. I've got Lucy here.
Of course, if you've saved it already on Screencast-O-Matic and held it there and not lost it, you can take it from there. But assuming you didn't save it there,
yeah,
only in an MP4 file, you can bring it back and edit it, I guess.
Yeah, you can edit it here.
So is that what I need to do then?
Yeah. That is an option of what you can do. I also do want to look into why it's deleting for you, because all of mine do save in recordings. But in the meantime, you can import the MP4 file if you're able to find that, and then work on it again.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Are you saying, sorry, are you saying drag it back into to be able to work on it again?
So I clicked import, and then it came up with like document for me, and then all of the MP4 files that I have on my computer. And then I just clicked it in. You might be able to drag. Yeah, have a play around. You might be able to drag it in. Yeah, you can also just click on import, which is one of the options. You have record, scripted recording, and then import, and that's where you can bring in an MP4 file. Fab.
Abby, is it a big deal for you that, supposing we've sent one to you and you've published it, and then we go back and think, I could have done that better, and we then bring it back in, amend it and send it again? Is that a big deal for you to have to sort of deal with, or can you easily substitute one for the other?
No, that's fine for me. I can easily substitute new versions if you want me to. That's fine.
One always feels later you could have done better.
And I think it really is, as you go along, you know, it gets easier and easier each time, and learn more and more. So yeah. Right, I think Jeff got there on time.
I've got a quick question, Abby. Last year you were saying we could watch other speakers do their talks, but you seem to have stopped doing that now.
That sounds before my time, if you like.
Okay.
I don't know. You can watch other speakers' talks on the free public talk if you want to, every Thursday.
Oh, yes, but you used to send us details, but I don't seem to get that anymore. You used to send an email saying that such a talk is going on a date and time.
Okay, in which case you'll want to sign up to the Murphy like updates, like Murphy emailing list. And you can just do that by booking onto another public talk going to our website.
So we go on your website to do that.
It comes up. It comes up on the catalogue, doesn't it? There's several talks, several weeks in advance. There's the freebie on Thursday, which comes up sort of fairly regularly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, every Thursday at 2 this month. It'll be 4 p.m. next month. But yeah, if you sign up for any of our talks events, we've got a concert this Friday, so that'll be the first concert that's happening.
Okay.
So yeah, do have a look at upcoming events.
And I think you also put it out on Facebook, don't you?
Yes, yeah, and thank you for all those of you interacting in the Facebook group as well, because it's really nice to kind of build that more of that community and have that interaction between speakers and like audience members. And I think, yeah, those who are involved are definitely getting a lot out of it. So if you aren't already in the Facebook group, do search for it on Murphy group. If you're not into Facebook, that's also fine. But if you are on, it's worth joining. Great. Okay, it's been lovely to see you all. Enjoy exploring Screencast-O-Matic. I hope I've given you some of the tools to start with the exploration of what it can do. And any questions, do let me know. Always happy to kind of help out. I don't proclaim to be a tech whiz, and my IT teacher would be very impressed that I've run a session like this. So we'll just keep learning together. But yeah. Thank you for all your support, and thank you for coming along today. It's lovely to see you all.
Thanks very much, Abby.
Look forward to seeing you this afternoon, Abby.
Yes. Yeah, see you this afternoon if you're coming along.
Yeah.
I will send you my big problem.
Great, I look forward to receiving that email. Thank you, Malcolm.
Nice to see you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Abby. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.